So, in founding Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, of course, appreciated the commercial appeal that could be held in the idea of taking the college experience and putting it online. However, I think that the rise of Facebook and the rise of social media in a more general sense has led to one of the most vapid, poorly connected, um, disengaged, anxious, frightened generation of relatively asocial, if not antisocial, um, people that's ever existed. I mean, it's very hard to sort of live in the world without being self-conscious these days, and without being conscious of things like popularity and who you're going out with, because that's the big concern on campus, isn't it? At college, like who in their right minds would want to turn the world into a university campus and have that life drag on endlessly, the life of being at university or college or whatever it is. I mean, I've been to university for various reasons. Like, I didn't have particularly great experiences. I did actually at University of the West of England, when I was living with some pretty nice people, and it was kind of cool. But actually, like, really, even there, the environment of being on campus with a load of bloody teenagers and young adults, it is quite oppressive. It's really quite punishing very often. And, everyone's judging everybody for whatever fucking reason they are. And, the things you say are kind of distorted or taken out of context, or people get the wrong meaning from it. And I know that happens to a greater extent in real life, but it happens far less with proper adults, let's say, like people above 30, I think. And I think at some point, during your mid-20s, you stop taking life quite so seriously as you do when you're a young adult. And but then, like, Facebook emerges, and you get these messaging forums, these groups pop up in which, the grand old debates in philosophy and politics are hashed out by people who, frankly, haven't got the faintest fucking idea what they're talking about. So if you want to contribute seriously to the debate and the discussion surrounding these sorts of things, you need to get into academic philosophy or political science, or become a polemicist writing for real publications and newspapers and so on, and not just scrolling endlessly on Facebook groups. And I'm guilty of it also because at one point I was trying to promote a social media platform for political discussions specifically, and take it off Facebook and off Twitter and so on, and craft a platform that would aim to refine political discourse rather than just have it shouted into the empty holes of Facebook groups where, people do read it, but they almost always just take exception to it. Or you get a couple of likes or something you say, and like someone agrees with you, and but more often than not, and this is particularly acute, I found recently in an atheist group. Like, again, like, bring up this pantheist, the case for pantheism, as put forth by Baruch Spinoza, the great 17th century Spanish/Dutch philosopher, and a Spanish philosopher who emigrated to the Netherlands, and they're just attacking. It's like, no, you don't need to quit God with the universe. No, God doesn't exist. It's like, and like, or evidence for your argument, evidence, like, comes out of rationalism, not empiricism. Rationalism is also respectable, actually, is a sphere of philosophy. But I mean, you wouldn't know that, though. You also wouldn't know that Spinoza's largely responsible for atheism as we know it in the modern world. But I know it goes back to the ancient Greeks, like, then we had the Renaissance, and all these ancient Greek and Roman ideas were brought to the fore once more and built upon by philosophers like Spinoza and Descartes and so on. And then we had the Enlightenment after the Renaissance. And now we've got these ideas because of these people. Atheism as a word didn't even exist until the 18th century. That's when it entered circulation. Yes, it has antecedents in ancient philosophy. Almost everything does. But we praise modern, I think John Dalton, really, with the discovery of the atom, is it not? not Leucippus or Democritus. So it's the trite, the glib babble on these places, and it's so lazy, a lot of it. I mean, I hate to, be like sort of a grammar Nazi person, but I mean, you're gonna don't engage in serious discussion, somewhere like on a serious issue, like try writing properly, or at least try to do that. Or put a full fucking stop at the end of your sentences. And oh, you're just a grammar Nazi. Like, oh, come on. Have a little bit of respect for the language you're using, at least, and respect for learning and being skillful and knowledgeable in an area of discourse and in the arts generally, and knowing how to use language and knowing how to use a fucking full stop or a question mark if there's a question. Do you see? So it's painful that to go through this, and it's a total waste of time. It's a total waste of my time. I did it again recently on a Facebook group, in this atheism discussion group. Everyone jumped on it, but God doesn't exist. I don't have to believe the universe is God and so on. And just God is a dirty word. It's rather that you need to understand that the term God could only mean universe. From there, we get atheism as we know it. From actually that idea, that principle. And pantheism, that's an ancient Greek idea. Not so much. It had antecedents in ancient Greece. It wasn't really fully developed until Spinoza. And then it had antecedents in medieval scholasticism as well, with Janus Scotus and Meister Eckhart and those people, and whatnot. So it's not, and it is and these are middle-aged people in these groups very often, and they are heckling and gibbering like a pack of not particularly bright undergrads in a college debating society, or in a college philosophy group. And you can be an undergrad at any university, usually a teenager. You could be at Harvard, Yale, Oxford, whatever. You're still 18 or 19 or 21 or 22, really at the oldest. In which case you don't know fuck all. You know barely anything. That's the fucking problem. And you might think you know everything because you're at a great university, for instance, but you actually don't know all that much. So you're just kind of debating something heavily utilising the availability heuristic, going on just what knowledge is available to you in your working memory or your mind, and not asking questions so much, and just a trite reduction to something, not following logic, or not being able to appreciate sound logical arguments, and for instance, and disregarding someone's perspective, even the perspective of a great philosopher like Spinoza, someone hugely respected in academic philosophy, one of the greatest thinkers of the Enlightenment. You just shrug it off, not worthy of my time. I'm so much better than that. You go out there and equal him then, or better him if you can. I defy you to do that. But they wouldn't try. It's good enough. It gets enough of a hit on the social media platform, and a lot of what they say gets likes from other people who are just like them, and they love this and get a little bit of endorphin hit from it, a little bit of oxytocin probably, live it into the system, and there's I feel clever. I've got my own feelings, my own self-generated feelings of intellectual superiority, justified or endorsed by the group. Yeah, I need more of this, more. And it's a group thing, which is, and atheists particularly hate this sort of accusation. Uncannily like what you find in cults often, I think. the feeling of being like a small marginalised group in society. Oh, no, most people out there, they're like religious or spiritual. Like, we're the atheists. We're structurally the same, very, very similar. We're the outcasts, but we're the clever ones. We're brights. Like that horrible, horrible phrase or like utilization of a term. Just, ugh. And then you've added like a moniker to the movement, and it is a movement. Certainly, it's an ideological movement. Like the words with like Quakers almost, or something, or Mormons, or Seventh-day Adventists, like that. Brights. Okay, you are brights then. Like how about brilliance, Zed, and your mere brights, or your half bright. Yeah, a lot of they are half bright, unfortunately, midwits, and like Facebook does transplant the social experience of college into the real world, but then the whole thing, like is reducing people down to a more infantile state, and we're not getting out into the world properly and learning how to be functioning members of adult society, and we're more like locked into echo chambers, and we're more like just finding material that serves our own biases. And then you've got Twitter, which is a different form of horror, if you like, in this regard. Like, every bit of discourse reduced down to 330 characters, whatever it is. Just fit it into this little gobbet box. And it's like, how can you expect anything to move forward that way? Like, what's the use of that? That's just a platform to encourage heckling. And to encourage thinking in slogans rather than thinking properly. And it's to encourage a lack of inventiveness. It's to encourage laziness. It's to encourage illiteracy. The inability in people to read statements that are longer than 330 characters or what have you. It's like thinking in headlines. Can't be doing that. Or an analysis that's so trite and reductionist that it could barely be called analysis at all in most cases. So yeah, like what Mark Zuckerberg did is create something inordinately profitable, but which I think has not added anything to the legacy of our civilization, other than like to slow it down and to break it down, or like onto to suffocate it to some extent and isolate people from one another, to this horrible attitude in which we're incredibly connected yet we've never been more lonely, and we envy other people's supposedly lovely lives we see pasted all over social media, yet like that's largely fake and frippery, and they never talk about their problems online, and it is deeply looked down upon to air your dirty laundry online, as I have from time to time. But I think at least I'm exposing something honest about myself on social media. Am I not? I'm saying like, yeah, my life is deeply problematic on a lot of levels, or has been. And it's good, actually, I think, to put out as a more warts and all perspective on your life. And that's useful as well. But I mean, we need to become better readers, better writers, to do things less quickly and hurriedly, to stop trying to shoot people down in flames with a single word response to a comment or whatever on social fucking media, and possibly to stop commenting at all, and to work harder at trying to become more learned and erudite individuals in the world. And perhaps that learnedness and erudition, if it's cultivated to a great enough extent, then possibly deserves an outlet on some social platform, more like. But not this glib crap in just stupid, pointless groups. For everyone to pat themselves on the back to feel clever for being, say, an atheist or whatever it is. So thank you, everyone. Bye. See you soon. Love you lots.